Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and this week we have a return guest, Megan Dalla-Camina. I just love everything that she's doing. She's a best-selling author, a women's mentor, founder, and speaker, passionate about women's empowerment, leadership, and well-being. So Megan just came out with a new book. I had her on in 2017, so 2 years ago, and now she is out with a brand new book, and I'm so excited because I love the title. It's called Simple, Soulful, Sacred, a women's guide to clarity, comfort, and coming home to herself. So, oh my gosh, it's like, I don't know, it's one of those books that not only empowers you as a woman, but it's one of those that it's like a really good hug. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever had that feeling with a book ever, but that's what this book is all about. And Megan is so great when it comes to empowering women. I mean, she is one of the best. So we talk all about the book. Like, the book was meant to help women to feel more empowered, to have more of a meaningful life, to get more into the flow of life. And she just has a way of putting it down on paper that's really magical. We also talked about what is sacredness and why is it even important? So we talk all about that because I feel like I live a very sacred life, and I do things that are very sacred and ritualistic. And I feel like it's very important for me in my life. But for those of you who maybe are like, I don't even know, what does that really mean? Megan talks all about it. So listen up about that. She talks also how to be a sovereign woman. And so I think now, 2019, we're heading into 2020. Can you believe it? I think it's really important for women to just really harness that fucking power and let's just do this. You know what I mean? No more hiding under the patriarchal, whatever, and no more having fear holding us back with whatever it is that we want to do anymore. I think this is a perfect book for this really big, potent time in history for women. Let's see, what else do we talk about? We talk about confidence and just so many other nuggets of wisdom. So I hope you love this interview, just the way I did. And Megan is so down to earth and she's so loving and so nurturing. She just has this mama energy about her. So without further ado, on to the show. This week we have a return guest, Megan Dalla-Camina, and she just came out with a beautiful book called Simple, Soulful, Sacred, a woman's guide to clarity, comfort, and coming home to herself. And even the picture is beautiful. Megan, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Margaret. It's so good to be here. It's always nice to be invited back.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for... Yeah, I'm excited to chat again.
Please tell us a little bit about your book, an overall, then we can hop into a little bit deeper dive into some topics.
Yeah, so this book really is a book, an invitation to help women and anybody who needs it. Everyone is welcome here in this journey to lead a more meaningful, purposeful, and soul-aligned life. So I've really written it as a guidebook for any woman who's ready to step out of the hustle. I think we're all so tired of the hustle and the grind, and get more into the flow of life. And it's also a bit of a meditation on redefining womanhood. Like, what does that look like for us as modern women? And how do we treat ourselves as more sacred as women and each other? And this whole question around sovereignty, which is the final part of the book. And what does it mean to be a sovereign woman? What does it mean to be a woman unto ourselves? So, we go through 10 different parts of the book, which we can talk about. And, so we look at simplicity, livelihood, well-being, comfort. We look at soulfulness, like what is the soul? What does it mean to live a soul-aligned life? Courage, sacredness, womanhood, and sovereignty, as I just mentioned. So yeah, it's a journey. It's a heroine's journey of a book.
I love it. Well, why don't we start here? I would love to know sort of your definition of sacredness, and why do you feel like it's so important for it to be a part of your life?
It's a really interesting question, I think, because it's not something that I've always had in my vocabulary. Like I want to live a sacred life, or sacred living, which is a whole lifestyle platform that I created for women. But in all of my work, whether it was in corporate America, in running my own businesses around women's leadership and diversity, and just looking at the cultural and social narrative around women, I feel like we've lost this sense of women as sacred beings. And I think for a lot of us, we've really lost that sense for ourselves, whether that's coming from a self-worth and confidence perspective, whether it's coming from a, validation, empowerment, self-containment, and agency perspective. Mm-hmm. I just feel like so many of us have the opportunity to redefine what that looks like. And it comes through this redefining of womanhood, but it also comes through treating ourselves as sacred and looking at what does that mean for us as individuals? What does that mean for us as a collective? And I think it changes everything when we can come home to that conversation.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
just a few things in there.
I feel that I live. Well, let me tell you how a couple of examples, and you tell me if this is sort of a definition of what it is to live a sacred life. But I feel like everything is sacred. I feel that preparing a meal is sacred. I feel that being in nature is sacred. Taking a bath. I just, the little things, being out in my backyard, anointing myself with oils. These are all sacred things. And when I look at the moon and do rituals, when I connect with, while sitting in front of my altar, I feel like that's sacred. And I sort of carry that essence throughout my day. And so is that what you mean by more people should be doing things like that? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, look, absolutely, if that's what resonates. Right. So I think this is different for everybody.
Okay.
There are no shoulds. This book is not a prescription. Yeah, there's nothing in here that's prescriptive. It's an invitation. So I, like you, have I see the sacred in everything as well. I don't see the sacred in everything. I see the sacred in things that really matter to me.
Yes.
So whether that's my morning practice and my morning rituals, whether that's, lighting some Palo Santo and doing a cleanse, or putting some incense on, meditation practice, going to yoga, time with my son, cooking a beautiful, wholesome meal, being in the garden, they're all absolutely things that are sacred to me. Someone else might have a really different definition of what that looks like. So for someone else, their work might be really sacred, as I think both of our work, is
Yes.
sacred to us as well. But there are no prescriptions. It doesn't look the same for everybody. It's really about defining what does sacred mean to you. And I talk about that. I write about that in the book. There's different definitions of sacred. For
Yeah.
some people, their faith and their religion is where they find sacredness in their lives. For other people, they don't. They don't hold those beliefs.
Right.
So this part of the book, really the whole book, is about working out what is important to you, what is meaningful to you, what do you want to claim as sacred in your life and about yourself as a woman or a man, or someone who's non-binary who's listening to this. Everybody is welcome in this journey, as I said. And then what do you do to honor those things or those parts of yourself that are sacred and keep them that way? Because I mean, I'm sure you would agree that in the busyness of the world, the chaoticness of the world, it's so easy, if we're not really intentional, to lose those things, to lose ourselves, to lose our practices into like the vortex of the drama and the chaos that is out there.
Right. Okay. And so do you find that women can easily find things that they can sort of practice on a daily basis if they've never really intentionally done it before?
I wouldn't necessarily use the word easy, because what I see with I mean, I work with thousands of women, have done for many, many years, is that if we are on the treadmill of our lives, and we're in that busyness, we're in the hustle, we feel like we're just grinding and striving all day, which is so many of us. Then it can be really hard to step off that treadmill. So for me, sitting down for meditation twice a day is great. For somebody else who's currently on that treadmill, a suggestion of sit for 5 minutes in silence once a day could be so overwhelming, because they can't see how to do that. So we have to start from where we are.
Right.
And
okay.
Yeah. So we start from wherever we are, and we start as small as we need to. So that might be, in the book, I teach a 4-part yogic breath, which is 16 counts, 16 seconds. And for some people, I've had executive clients who, that's enough for them to start with. And they could do a couple of rounds of a 4-part yogic breath, which is essentially you breathe in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, exhale for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4. And a couple of rounds of that a few times a day is enough for them to get started. For other people, they have practices like you and I would have, which are, really deeply grounded and embedded in their lives. So the book is full of different invitations and suggestions and affirmations and practices. And my invitation to women is go with what resonates, or go with what you feel you need, and start from there.
Okay. But it really is essentially also, it's like just a slowing down from all,
Yes. Yes. Yeah, look, we really, I would say all of us categorically need to slow down.
Yes.
The world is so fast. It doesn't even matter where you are. I mean, today I'm in Sydney. A couple of days ago I was in New York. A couple of days before that I was in Las Vegas. And they're all variations of the same theme, right? I mean, certainly where I live, in a beachside, harbourside suburb is much slower energy, but I inherently am driven to go fast. That's my makeup.
Right.
So I have to really intentionally place myself in the energy to go slow. or to slow it down, to breathe, to practice, to meditate, to use my oils, because otherwise, yeah, like that's just how we're geared now.
Right.
We're geared for speed, and it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy. Like I think on nearly every level. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Too much so. It's
Mm,
actually to some degree, um, it can affect some women more than others, but to some degree,
yeah,
it does, create imbalances in hormones and adrenals and all these things. So
yeah, yeah.
the
It's
stress.
my friend Dr. Libby Weaver wrote a book called Rushing Women's Syndrome.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's a biochemist, so she's a PhD, yeah, biochemistry. She's brilliant. So I'd encourage anyone who is in this space of needing to slow down, of course, go and grab Simple, Soulful, Sacred. But if you're in that rushing, you could also grab her book, because it is a syndrome, and it's I was in it for such a long time. I burnt myself out, really
Yes.
severely, to the point that I had to give up my job. So, like, it's a thing. It's real. We don't talk about it enough, I think.
No, absolutely not. I know. And it's like a never ending cycle, and you just have to rush here and rush there and pick up this
Yeah,
person. And it's, it takes a toll on the body for sure.
yeah. I've got a chapter in here. I was just trying to find exactly which one it is, but there's a chapter in here that I wrote about, like, do you need to be going so fast?
Mm,
Because I certainly found in my life that I was so embodied in the rush. Like, it was just, I was so wired for fast that I would be rushing even when I didn't need to be rushing. And I'd be going fast even when there was no time issue, there was no deadline, I didn't have to be anywhere, I'd still be rushing. It's a chapter called Slowing Down, which is in the Wellbeing section. And we have to reprogram ourselves and find the practices, the breathing, the interventions that will help us rewire our behaviors and our brains.
mm. Yes, absolutely. I think it's so critical for women's bodies to reset, to be able to slow
Yeah.
down. And yeah. And so we were also talking about something you mentioned earlier about being a sovereign woman. What does
Mm,
that mean exactly?
yeah. So this was a real discovery for me as I wrote this book. And in the years, excuse me, in the years before I wrote this book, because this word sovereignty started to come up for me, which I'd never thought about.
Right.
In all of my work around feminine power and feminine leadership and all the things,
Right.
I'd never really thought about this word sovereignty, and it kept coming in as I was starting to write the book. And it's really a discovery around, I think, how do we be women unto ourselves? I mean, that's what sovereignty means. I think in the womanhood sense, how do we have containment and complete self agency? Which doesn't mean that we don't have other people in our lives. It doesn't mean we don't have support. It doesn't mean that we don't have people we rely on, or things outside of ourselves that give us, pleasure, joy, etc. But it does mean that we are self-contained. That um, we are sovereign. That we have that sense of reverence and
Mm.
agency for ourselves. Does that make sense?
So, sense of reverence, I understand that, but I guess I don't know what you mean by sense of agency. We,
So, yeah. So
uh,
it's like Sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Self agency is um, it is our ability to act for ourselves,
Okay.
by ourselves, in the best interest of ourselves with like confidence and conviction. Like that's agency. Like I have agency over my own life. I have
Okay.
control as much as any of us have control over everything. I'm in my power.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. How does that, when I talk about sovereignty, how does that land with you?
It paints a much clearer picture.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's a big topic. Like I think it's a big conversation for women.
Why do you think, or when do you see women not being sovereign? Then when are we not sort of, I guess when we're not in our power, when we sort of are giving our power
Yeah.
away? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to look too far and wide, right? I mean,
that's true.
look at the television that we watch and how women are portrayed. Look at how women are portrayed in positions of power. Like even to this day, look at I mean, we don't have to look too far, right? Look at politics, look at organizations, look at the media, look at reality television, look at the conversations we have online, look at our fixation with external validation through social media. Look at what we do to our bodies. Like we don't have to look too far to see the opposite of sovereignty, the opposite of feminine power. Um, so yeah, that's why I think it's a really, I mean, this whole conversation around redefining womanhood, like what type of woman do we want to be? What does that look like? How do we define womanhood? It's different for everybody. Um, and the whole piece around feminine and masculine in our traits, in our energies, in our essence. Like I still think of this as a fairly new conversation.
Yes.
But what I'm finding from women, I mean, the book's only been out for a couple of weeks in the US, and a few more weeks in Australia. Um, that women are writing to me and coming to me, commenting to me on social media that they're feeling such a sense of comfort and release from the topics that that are covered. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. One of your underneath your in your chapter on sovereignty, you talk about your power is real, and I think that's such a big issue with women. We don't really think that we are powerful, and being more masculine is more powerful than being in our own feminine essence.
Yes. Yeah, because that's what we've been taught, right? I mean, we've been taught in the collective, different for everybody, but in the collective, that power looks like this, that leadership looks like this, that success looks like this. And if you want to be those things, then this is how you will show up, speak, act, dress, convey yourself, lead, treat other people. And like this is changing now. We see the research that this is changing. It's changing for men and women, for all genders. But this is deeply programmed in us as women. This sense of that the masculine is how you succeed.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I wrote my previous book, Lead Like a Woman, my women's leadership company is where I go into organizations and, people outside of organizations and look at what does authentic leadership look like. And women are completely just completely embrace this for the most part. That what do you mean I can lead with feminine and masculine traits, that I can actually show up as myself. But men are also relieved that there's this paradigm shift that is coming. So, like we need to untrain ourselves from what we've been taught, what we've been told, what we've looked at, what the narrative has been, what the people in the positions of power look like, and redefine that for ourselves as well.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, there's just so much, so many great topics in this one huge sovereign chapter, even about just softening into feminine power. And I think that's also
Yeah.
something that I see that a lot of women tend to just kind of lose. They're just in their masculine so much. And that, again, I see it in practice too, in my practice, that
Yes.
it's affecting their bodies. We're not meant to be in this masculine 24/7, you know?
No. Yeah. No, we're not. And it feeds that rushing that we were talking about before.
Right.
And we bring it home. We bring it home. I work with so many clients who, whether they're, successful entrepreneurs or starting a business, or they're working in corporate, and they're in that masculine energy all day. They're unlearning that, but that's what they come to me with. And then their relationships at home are really suffering because they can't switch. They don't know how to switch out of that.
Oh,
They don't
yes.
know how to switch out of their masculine into their feminine so that they can have that balance at home, irrespective of whether they're in, same-sex partnership, whether they're, with a man. You got to have that balance between masculine and feminine. You can't have both of you fully in that masculine all the time. It just doesn't work. So, like, I think this is a huge discovery. It's an unraveling of so many things for women to be able to learn, how do I do what I want to do in the world? How do I be powerful in my power, successful, whatever that looks like, because it's different for all of us. How do I work and live on purpose if that's important to me, and do that with the right balance of my energies so that I can thrive and not be strung out, burnt out, in that striving mode the whole time. Like, this is, I think this is, at this point in history, like, I think this is a pivotal unfolding for us as women.
Oh, absolutely. And
Mm.
how do you think that? I mean, I think your book is just a beautiful description of really stepping into this. But what if, it's not like, let's just say women doesn't buy this book. Are there other ways that she can sort of tap into that? I mean, I feel like it's, for some women, it may not be an important thing. They might not realize that these things are important and vital. They're sort of
Yes.
disregarded, whatever, they're masculine all the time, and then, of course, I'm not saying don't be masculine. You need to get things done, and maybe
Absolutely.
run a business or household, and you need that. But I've always believed that the being able to step into that feminine gracefully and easily
Yes.
is a beautiful thing that we need to just own more of it.
Yeah, completely. And neither of us are saying, just to be really clear, that we don't need our masculine.
No.
The problem is that for so many women, their masculine is dominant and can't be turned off. So that's, that's the problem. I mean, I know I run 3 companies, that I absolutely love my work, and I love being in that masculine energy and all that brings. But I also love being in my feminine energy and using my feminine traits, my receptivity, my vulnerability, my creativity. So it's just, how do I balance that? When do I need each, and the ability to tap in and tune into what's required. So that's what we're talking about here. I feel that people come to this whatever conversation, discussion, place of awareness, in their own time, in their own way, on their own terms.
Yeah.
So for some women listening to this, they might be like, what are you talking about? Like, this is rubbish, and I'm totally fine the way that I am, and I'm, and may have a realization that they operate a lot out of the masculine. And if if that's great for you and that's working for you, fabulous. You know, like it's not a problem unless it's a problem.
Right.
For other women, they might be listening to this saying, oh, like I'm too in my feminine. Like I need some of that masculine energy. And that's a thing as well, right?
Yeah.
So what I would say to women is, of course, I would love every woman in the world to read this book, but that's not going to happen. So for women who perhaps for women who just want to start right now, I think the getting quiet and the tuning in to that soul space, that sacred space, even if it's for 2 minutes, to say, well, where am I at? Like, how am I feeling right now?
Right.
How do I feel in my body? Where's my breath? Is my breath all the way up in my chest and in my collarbone and sort of strangling myself in my throat? Or do I have a really deep, calm, deep belly breath going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do I feel in my body? Am I feeling, I've got a chapter in the book called Your Body Knows. Like when we tune in, our body will tell us what's going on. Our body will tell us when we have to go to a meeting and our stomach starts to churn because we're so anxious about engaging with that person. You know, our body will tell us that we keep getting the flu every 3 weeks, well, because we're so anxious and don't want to be in a certain situation. Like our body will tell us. So, you know, to your question of what can women do, start by just getting really aware of yourself. And that's the coming home piece, you know. So sit and breathe, tune in, be aware, stop distracting yourself with all the things out there and spend some time in here in your body. And the more that you can do that, the more that you will intuitively know and sense, what do I need to do next?
Yes. Let's also talk a little bit of, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's talk a little bit about this chapter on courage. I think that's a pretty big one.
Yes, it is. It's huge. Could have been a whole book.
Yeah. Let's just talk, I see some of these sub chapters in here, like have the courage to quit. It says here, be just 10% braver. And so let's talk about that a little bit.
So this chapter, so much of my work with women is around confidence. And it may not show up as confidence. It may show up as something else. But for so many of us, it's not having, and we'll talk about confidence and courage because, they're two different things, but not having the confidence or the courage to step into what they want to do, and that could be from a small thing like speaking up in a meeting or speaking up at the PTA, or it could be a big thing like changing careers, leaving a relationship, starting a business. So that's really the exploration in this part of the book around courage. And my hope is that this will give women permission, because so many of us wait for permission before we do anything. And looking at whose permission are you actually seeking? Is it your partner? Is it your mother? It's a big one for so many women. Is it your father? Also a big one. Is it your best friend? Is it your boss? Like, whose permission? Is it your child? Like, what do you need to give yourself permission to do what it is that you want to do? And, the pieces in here around be just 10% braver, that actually came up from working with a coaching client who had stepped into a new role. She had 20 years in this area. She was so experienced, so worthy, overqualified. And yet, 2 days before um, a, a couple of weeks after she'd stepped into the role, she was like, I'm questioning myself at every turn. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to put my ideas forward. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And I said to her, if you could be just 10% braver in this role tomorrow, what would you do? And it was an absolute revelation for her. And not only that, but she went home and with her teenage daughter who was having some challenges at school, and she asked her the same question, which turned out to be a revelation for her daughter and how she showed up. So I think sometimes we think we need to make wholesale change or, go in somewhere guns blazing, but micro change, micro courage can create ripple streams of change for us. And then there's the piece around confidence versus courage. The research tells us that confidence is the ability to turn our thoughts into action, which I love that definition so much because confidence is so ambiguous. So many of us as women have been told, oh, you'd be great if you could just be more confident, or just be more confident, you'll be fine. But what does that mean? Well, it means how do we turn the thoughts that we have about what we want to do into action so that we can actually go and do it? And the courage piece, I really like this linkage because sometimes we need the courage to be able to step into that. We need the courage in that moment to just step in. And then the confidence builds from action, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
I really never knew the difference between confidence and courage. Actually,
I didn't either. I didn't either until I started writing this, and I was really deeply thought about it, and that's what I came up with. So, I hope that's helpful for people. I think it's helpful. It's certainly helpful for me.
Mm-hmm. No, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Let's see. What else I wanted to ask you? So when you work with women who are finding it hard to maybe step into a role that they want or a new job or leaving a partnership or something like that, are you finding that, because you work with women, is that what you do? You help women to sort of have the courage to do these things?
So it always starts with clarity. So it always starts with, what is it that you really want? Okay. Because sometimes we think we want something. We think we want this job. We think we want this business. We think we want this partner or to leave this partner. But when it really comes down to it, what we want is something really different. So in the first part of the book, in Simplicity, we talk about clarity. What do you want for your life? How to simplify to clarify. And so that's where I always start. I always start with clarity. Nothing happens before clarity comes.
Got it. Right. And is that, so once they find what they really want, is that what you mean by living a soul-aligned life? Is doing the things that you really love?
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't even have to really love them, right? I mean, we all have things in our lives that feel aligned for us that maybe aren't our favorite things to do. But it's understanding, who am I? Who do I want to be? And having that clarity, what do I want my life to look like? What are the components? Is it where are my relationships? Where is my spiritual life? Where is my purposeful work? Where are other aspects? It might be community, philanthropy, creativity. Yeah. What are the things that you want to have in? How are you going to put those together in a way that works for you, is meaningful for you? And then how do you live in alignment with what you say is important? Because I find and I was like this for such a long time, I said one thing was important, but I wasn't living in alignment with that, or I wanted to live I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't write. I call myself a yogi, but I didn't go to yoga. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
they're small examples, but they're really tangible examples of how we say one thing, we do something else. And when we continually do that, our soul is going, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're so out of alignment with what we know the path is here. Come back. Like, come back. And that's the coming home piece. So, my wish for everyone is that we all live soul aligned lives. I mean, imagine what the world would be like
Oh,
if
yeah.
we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time acknowledging that it's a path to get there. There's a reason why the book is short chapter. It's 200 short chapters so that, women can dip in and dip out. It's not overwhelming. You can read one page a day and sit with that thought, because it is a journey, like it is a path to do this work for sure.
Mm. Yes, I think that's so true. Just to be able to really ask these important questions about,
Yes.
how do you want to live your life? What does that really look like? And I think a lot of times people don't think about it. If they just sort
No.
of do the thing, get the job. They don't really
Yeah.
like it, but nobody, oh, well, nobody really, who likes their job really? And sort of leading
Yes.
a life that's
Yes.
unfulfilled.
Yes. And think that that's okay.
Right,
That's because
right.
that's a story, right? That's a story we've been told. Many of us, it's a belief. Work is hard. You go to work and thank God it's Friday and get yourself to retirement and then you can live, or, get yourself to your vacation and then you can enjoy yourself. And it's just crap. Like it's just rubbish. We're not meant to live like that. So one of the big things is, like, how do we unpack the stories and beliefs that we have that aren't serving us, that aren't enabling us to live the life that we want to live and have the dreams that we want to have, and give ourselves permission for all of that? And then how do we follow the path, to go and create that for ourselves? So that in a nutshell, that's the work, right? And
Right.
to have it be easeful. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, although it can, but to have it be easeful. And one of the big things, one of my major intentions in this book was to bring comfort. Because I remember standing at my bookshelf before I'd started writing this book, and I didn't want to be inspired, and I didn't want to be empowered, and I didn't want to have my brain stimulated. I just wanted some comfort. I wanted to pick up a book off my bookshelf and find comfort in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had so many comments from women saying, like, I feel like this book's a big warm hug. And yeah, just how happy that makes my heart, because
Yes.
God knows we need that in our lives right now.
Absolutely. I mean, so sort of a little rundown about what we talked about today. I mean, it's like getting clear on the thing that you want and then having the confidence to be able to have an action, to act on it, and the courage. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, how did it go again? No, the confidence to, whoops, I just lost my light in here. Having, put my light on. Okay. Having the confidence to change those thoughts into actions, and having the courage to really stepping into it as a sovereign woman. So we have to sort of, I think once you believe you're a sovereign woman and you are feeling so, there's a sense of reverence about you and your life and who you are, though I feel like just feeling that is giving you the courage to step into the thing that you really love.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, if we treat ourselves as sacred sovereign women, and we believe that we're important, that we're worthy, that our opinions and our wants and our needs and our dreams matter, then the actions that we take look very different.
Yes.
the permission that we no longer seek, the validation that we no longer need. You know, we're coming from a very different place. Mm-hmm. And like, that's a beautiful thing. Like, that's a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Because you're really stepping into your true power. And it's like nothing can stop you at that point.
Yeah. And like that type of power changes the world, right? Like, let's be real. Mm-hmm. And God knows we need that right now. So, you know, this is for us as individuals, but this is also for the collective. And it really matters. Like, women stepping fully in to their power really matters. Really, it really matters. Yeah, like the future of the world depends upon it. Not to put too fine a point on it.
Right.
But I really believe that it does.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the more and more women step into their power, they recognize it, they own it, they step into it. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. 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 And it does change the world. You know, we see that all the time in communities, in companies, in politics. You know, we see what happens when women are there in their power and creating change. And it's exceptionally powerful.
So we are coming down to the end of our interview. Is there anything that we didn't touch upon that you wanted to just share?
I think we had such a beautiful conversation. I just would love women and anyone who's listening who needs this to give themselves the space and the time and the energy and the comfort to really tune into themselves, and to do that every day in some small way or some large way, because that alone is and can be life-changing for them.
Right.
And you don't need anything else to do it. You don't need a book. You don't need a podcast. You don't need anything. Like, we are self-contained beings. So to have that space and time, even if it's 5 minutes, hopefully it's longer, to get quiet with yourself and to listen to your inner wisdom and your inner guidance. Yeah, like, I think that's a gift I would love to see everybody give to themselves.
Absolutely. So tell us, where can we get the book? Is it everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest place I think for most people is Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's on Amazon.com. It's on Kindle. It is on paperback that you can order. But yeah, no matter which country you're in, if you go to Amazon or any of the online sellers, you will find the book. And then in certain bookstores as well, or they can order it in for you for sure, if you can't find it in a bookstore.
Great. And then how can people find you?
Yeah, just come to my website, Dalla-Camina.com. There's only one, so you'll find me. And there's lots of, beautiful articles and resources. I've got a 14-part audio series called The Sacred Sessions on there that people can download completely free. That is, love, wisdom, and tools for rising. So, welcome, and invite people to go and grab that.
Great. And are you on Instagram as well?
Oh, I am. Instagram is my playground. Okay. So, again, Megan Dalla-Camina, come find me and connect with me on Instagram. I would love that. Yes, I love Instagram. I'm a visual creative, so it's
me too.
So much brings me joy, and I love connecting with people there. So that would be beautiful.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and just writing this beautiful book, and congratulations. I'm so happy that we've connected, and hopefully maybe the next time you're in New York, we can connect physically.
I would love that. Yeah, let's make sure we do. That would be wonderful.
I would love
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll chat soon. All right. Did you love that or what? Right? So hopefully after this interview, you will be incorporating some kind of sacred practices into your life. For me, they're so meaningful and they just help me feel, I don't know, just a little more grounded. So if you want to learn more about Megan and for all of the show notes, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 121. And quick book plug. My book is finally out. By the time this is out, it will be on Amazon. It's called From Flare to Fabulous, 25 Things You Must Do to Avoid Your Next Lupus Flare. If you know anyone with an autoimmune issue, 500,000 women out there suffer from a chronic, debilitating autoimmunity. If you know anyone, they may be able to benefit from this book. So it's kept me flare-free, feeling good, no fatigue, no pain whatsoever, and out of the hospital. I think that's like the best thing you can do for your body. Has nothing to do with what is the latest drug, what is the latest biologic, what's the latest medication for $1,000 a month can you spend? No way in hell. This is all about nutrients, balancing your hormones, finding out if you have any chronic infections, gut health. We talk about so much. So if you are ready to buy right now, it could still be on pre-order, but head on over to margaretromero.com/pre-order. You can also check it out on Amazon. All right. Bye for now. Love to you all for listening. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you all next week. Bye for now.